right, good evening, everyone. For those who are able to join in the live stream, good evening. For those who can't, well, it's all good. There's always the recordings, and you'll still get the same valuable information. You'll just be missing out on the interactive conversation part of it. Let's see, I got my chat up over here, so if you guys ever have any items you want to chat about, just let me know. Let's see. This week and next week we'll be talking about strings, specifically slicing, iterating through them, concatenating them, adding to strings, formatting strings. I know the first couple weeks we did quite a bit on text coloring, alignments, for doing variables within your strings and stuff like that. We did like 3, maybe even 4 full weeks of talking about strings. Well, we're back on strings now. So for this week, I know there's the modify assignment and there is the debug assignments. Take a look at those. I thought the final project for the end of the week was actually a duplicate, but it turns out the all 3 assignments are on the same document. So when you download it, you'll see the modify, the debug, and the actual weekly assignment all in the same document. So take a tackle at those and see what you come up with. If you have any problems, just contact me on Discord. So looking a little bit more at strings, we're going to look at parsing and slicing. And when you think about a string is just a series of letters. If we look at the word Leeward right here, it has index 0, starts with an L, index 1 is an E, 2 is an E, 3. So it starts at 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we have an L, E, E, W, A, R, D for each of those. So 7 letters. So 0 through 6 is our indexes. So we can actually get the index. So if we wanted to get the index of the word Leeward, we would say the index of 0 in brackets here, and it would return back an L. So let's add a little code block here. We can even take in our word. We'll do type hinting as a good technique. Leeward. And we just want to print word index 0. And you'll see we get back an L from that. So when I go ahead and run that, you'll see we get back the L. If we want to look at another word, we have 0, 1, 2, 3. So the third index is W. If we want to look at the third index, so 0, 1, 2, 3, we should get back a W. And we do. We get back the W right here. So we can actually go through, loop through it. We just finished looking at loops last week and the week prior to that. So we can loop through these, and let's say we have, a text or a string. We have type hinting of string, Leeward Community College. We want to go ahead and get the length of that text. I know some of your assignments talk about getting the lengths of a string. So you can get the length of our string here, and then we can loop through that. When we're learning about the for loop, we can say we can iterate through a range, and we're going to base that on the length here. So it'll count how many letters, including the white space, counts as a letter as well. That is going to be part of the length, and it's going to loop that many times through there from 0 to that up to, but not including that value. So it'll print out the iteration, and it'll print out what the letter is. So here, I is the variable, and we put it in brackets for the index value. So if we run through that, we'll see index 0, just like we talked about earlier. Is L, 3, we talked about 3, that's W. So each letter within the string has an index value. Well, since we know they have index values, we want to be able to tell it, well, I only want indexes 0 to 6, right? So what we could do is range, let's see, we could do a slice. Let's see if we can do a slice. Print, let's see, text. I don't remember if this will work or not, but 0 up to 7. I don't remember if it will slice through this or not. Let's go ahead and give that a try. Yes, and there it does. It returned just the slice of our Leeward. I'll go ahead and put that in a, here, run that. So you can see we have our Leeward here. I'll go ahead and hide that. Let's add another code block. So if I just wanted to slice from the text from the blank. So blank means start at the beginning up to 7, but not including the 7. I think we talked about a little bit of the slicing, like when we did start, stop, and step. When we were talking about our loops, it's just slicing is the same thing. So we just want from 0 up to 7. So 7 would have been the space. It does not include that last digit in there. We could even do every other letter. Let's say we just want to do 2, and then it's going to print out lead. Right? Every letter out of there. By default, you don't need to put a 1 there because it counts as having 1 without having any value there. It counts as 1. So that's how we can get a slice of a string. This loop here just took us through every aspect of the string up to the length of whatever the length of it was. Okay, so we can even split it up by the white space. So let's say we have the Leeward Community College. Just so you all know, this is going to be a little bit shorter of a post. I'm trying to see if I can crunch them down to 30 minutes. So I'll keep them a little bit shorter. So we can split these up even by the white spaces. So basically we want to look where it says Leeward. Actually, let's go edit. Clear all outputs. That way we're not looking ahead. Okay. We have Leeward space community space college, and what we can do is we can tell wherever there's a white space, go ahead and split the text, and we can do the dot split. I think we even talked about that in one of our string weeks a couple weeks ago, to break the items up into a list. I know we haven't talked about lists yet. Well, I think we start covering lists in the next module, so just after 2 weeks. But a list is just a group of values stored inside a variable. So the variable is called words, and I just want to store several different values inside the variable called words. And each type is going to be a string. They don't all have to be string, but it's a good practice to go ahead and type hint. So in this case, I want my list to all be strings, and it's just going to split that Leeward Community College. In fact, I'll go ahead and copy that, bring it back down here just so we can see it again. And if we run, what's it do? It's going to split it by the white space. If there was a white space here, that also counts as white space. But in this case here, we're looking at the white space within the sentence, and we're going to have 3 separate strings. Leeward Community College as 3 separate values within there. And what it does is it puts it inside a list, and then we can actually loop through our list. So let's say we just wanted to look at the first index, right? Because we looked at indexes of a string itself where it goes 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's say we just want to look at the index of that list. So we could say print words, and we just want to see the first item in there. Well, it's going to show us Leeward. If we want to see the second item, second value, that would be then 1, because it goes 0, 1. Community, so right, we can pull out the entire word. So we did split, it put the entire word inside the words list, and each of those is a string in itself. Remember we looked at Leeward earlier, right? And we actually wanted to slice through it, right? Let's see if this will work. I don't remember if this one does. 7,2, but we'll give it a try. See? And so what we can do is we're taking the first word inside words, that's the word Leeward, and then we're going to take from 0 to 7 every other step, and it gives us back lead. Or we could say every third. Or actually 0, 1, 2, 3, so let's go with 4. Okay, and then we got Lee with W, because it's going 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 would be the one that skips, so grab the W also. If we don't want to grab W, we could just say from 0 to 3. So we can slice the string that is inside the list of words. Okay, so now that we have a list of multiple words, let's go ahead and throw it in a loop, because we want to keep building upon our loop proficiency that we developed over the last couple weeks. And we can do each of those by index. So you saw up here, I can grab words, and I can just put the index number. So I could put number 2, and it's going to give us college, right? Okay, so what I can do is I can go ahead and loop through that. So for each word, that's a variable that we're creating, inside the list called words, we're going to print word. So it's going to go for item number 0 is going to store it inside the word from this list, and then next time it runs, it's going to take index number 1 and then index number 2. So when we play it, we get the 3 it'll go through each word that's in there. It runs out of words, it'll exit out of the for loop automatically. So we got Leeward, community, college, and it ran out of strings or index items within that list. So let's say we want to find a specific value within an index. Okay, we learned a bit about random a couple weeks ago, so I'm going to go ahead and pull in the random integer, and we're going to find the length of a string. So length of string, we're going to store it. It's going to be of type integer, and we're going to get the length of our text. Our text being the string Leeward Community College, right? And we're going to go ahead and print that length. Then we're going to get a random value from 0 up to the length of the string minus 1, right? Because it's inclusive. We don't want to get length of string, and then because that would actually be outside the bounds because we're starting at 0, not at 1. All right, so we subtract 1 to make sure we stay within the range. From 0 to the last value minus 1, and we're going to print out what that random index is, and then it's going to say what character that is within the string. So Leeward Community College, we hit play, so it's 25 long, right? We want to get index number 8, and that should give us a C. Well, let's go up here. Okay, so we got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Indeed, index number 8 is a C. So you can get random in the strings. You can get a random value using your random text. Okay, it's just an example, something you do, just to remind you how to use the random integer. So we've looked at how to use loops to loop through a string. We've learned at pulling a random index from a string. We've looked at slicing through strings. Okay, now we can add items by slicing as well. Okay, so let's say we want to add in dashes for social security number. Okay, checking the text here. I don't see any comments, so I guess everybody's happy. Good evening to everyone who's joined. Okay, so the first problem we have here is we have 9 digits. This is a social security number. You wouldn't know it by looking at it, but this is actually a good way to store a value. You store it as an integer, or you can store it as a string, either way. In this case, you probably wouldn't want to store it as an integer because you're not going to add and subtract a social security number. A social security number is a discrete value. It's not something where, hey, I'm going to take this person's social security number and add it to that person's social security number, and it's going to create a new person. That's not how social security numbers are created for their children, right? So it should be a string. However, it's not obvious what it is, and it's not how we normally see it. We normally see it with dashes. So we got 1, 2, 3. So 3 digits, dash, 2 digits, dash, 4 digits. That's how we normally see social security numbers. Well, we need to add these and add the slices into them, and we can do that by taking index sections. Okay, so if we have a social security number and store it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, let's go ahead and slice it into 3 separate parts. Now this one here starts at 0. We could actually just delete that and go like that if we wanted to. But for readability, you can put 0 to 3 in there. Remember, it's non-inclusive, so that means it does not include that last value. Actually, we didn't include the last number there, so let's just keep standard, okay? So we're going from the beginning up to the third digits. That's 0, 1, 2. Then here we're taking 3, 4, because we're not including 5. And then here we're taking 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to the end of whatever our string is. And we're storing each of those into a string. I have my type hinting here, saying that each of these are a string as well. And then we're going to print those, okay? So let's see what it turns out to be. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, okay? And they are 3 separate strings. Okay, now that we've sliced them, well, we learned a little bit about formatting. Well, let's go ahead and squeeze them all back together using some of the lessons we learned before. So we're going to take part 1, concatenate it with a dash, concatenate it to part 2, concatenate it to a dash, and concatenate it to part 3, right? If we hit, and then we're going to go ahead and print out using a formatted string, using our inline social security number formatted. Okay, so if we hit play, we see formatted SSN is 1, 2, 3 dash 4, 5 dash 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's how we like to see it, right? Okay, another way we could do it is instead of storing each one in a separate part, we could just slice. There we go. SSN formatted. We want to comment there. There we go. Okay. So instead of actually slicing them and creating parts and storing stuff inside values, we could just go ahead and slice them all up and then put them straight inside the string formatted. Now, if you look right here, it says string or SSN formatted is what it should be because it's looking at to the right side and seeing what is it and evaluating and going and putting it on the left side for us. So we're taking from 012-34-56789. If we hit play or run, we get the exact same values without having to store them in parts. No, it all comes down to readability. You know, if you're passing this on to another programmer, will they understand, okay, I'm slicing the social security number, I'm slicing, or do you want to go ahead and pre-slice them into parts and then just go ahead and assemble the parts with the dashes? Whatever way your company wants to do it that way. Whatever's the most readable for the next programmer to look at, go ahead and do it that way. Either way is perfectly fine on how you want to do it. Whether you slice it and concatenate it at the same time, or whether you slice it, then concatenate it later, right? Okay, let's say we want to add some commas to an integer. So in this case, we're taking an input. Inputs are always strings, and then we're converting it to a integer later, right? So my typing should actually have popped up an error, unless I would have put int around that. So my large number is going to come in as a string and input a very large number with commas. All right. Now it will be a string stored inside the value large number, and then we're going to convert it into an integer, and then we're going to do some slice formatting with it. Okay, so we can do the semicolon and a comma, and then we're going to do the dot format, and then we're going to go ahead and convert it into an integer. What it's going to do, it's going to go ahead and add in our comma at every 1,000ths mark. Okay, make it an easier number to read. In this case, we're going to store it inside formatted, but you don't necessarily have to do that. You can actually put this directly inside your formatted string. That way you don't actually have to save it to memory. But when we hit play, okay, let's input a really large random number. Nobody would know what that is without having to count, you know, from the side, go 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's my hundreds, 1, 2, 3. That's my thousands. Nobody wants to do it that way, right? Let's go ahead and hit enter. Bam. It automatically puts in the commas for us, right? Doing a little bit of formatting for us, taking from a string, putting it in an integer, and doing a little bit of formatting for us. Now, in this case, it's not really so much string formatting, but it's just something I wanted to show, okay? Because we haven't looked at that in the past. But let's say we're looking at a phone number. If we have a raw string of a phone numbers, you don't add and subtract them. You don't multiply and divide phone numbers, so they are strings. They're not numbers. They're not quantifiable numbers. They're not numbers that you do manipulation to, mathematics to, right? Arithmetic, there's the word I'm looking for. You don't do arithmetic on a phone number, right? It is a string. Now, because it's a string, we can go ahead and parse it or slice it. So in this case, we're going to use a formatted string, and we're going to go ahead and save it in phone formatted. And what we're going to do is we're going to take phone raw, and we're just going to take 0, 1, 2. And if you notice, we got a parenthesis and a parenthesis. So that's going to put the first 3 digits in parentheses, a space, and then we're going to slice 3, 4, 5 for the next 3 digits. So we'll have a space, 3, 4, 5. Then we have a dash, and then we're going to take 6 to the end, which would be 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? Yes. All right. And then it's going to go ahead and print out that formatted phone number for us. So this is an easy way to take the string, and you can input this you can input this directly down into the print function and not have to store it in value, but this just makes it an easier step for readability purposes. All right. So when we hit play, we have that beautifully formatted 808 phone number, formatted just how we want it. But let's say we don't want these parentheses. Well, we can take the same phone number and we can just put dashes in instead. So I'm taking the same slice section, dash, the next slice section, dash, the next slice section. So we're combining those formatted strings with slices of a string. And when we hit print, it should come out with dashes instead of the parentheses and space. Right? Easy way to format strings. Now, something that would be a good challenge is if you had a file with 1,000 phone numbers in it. What if all the phone numbers are formatted differently? Like some have parentheses, some have all dashes, some have nothing. It's just like the raw string where it's just, 9 digits or 10 digits, right? 3, 3, and 4. Yeah, so 10 digits. Or what if they just have spaces? When you get data in from a file, you don't know what the formatting is. So that brings us to our regex, or RE, as some people, so you can import the RE module. All right, and regex, or RE, stands for regular expression. And this is a good way to do large manipulations to strings, to be able to strip out lots of different kinds of characters and replace them with something else, replace them with nothing, that kind of stuff. So we can use regex to make big changes. We can replace in the parentheses, the space, and the dash all at the same time. If it came in this way, we could replace all of those characters, or all the dashes, or all the spaces all at the same time, and just make them a simple format. So let's say we got 3 different phone numbers. We're going to go ahead and import our regular expression library, or module, as they're called. All right, and in here we got phone number 1, 2, and 3. And look, each one's formatted differently. However, we can still do the same regex for each one. We're just going to take in a different phone number each time of what we're going to process it. Now, something I've said multiple times before, if you're doing the same code over and over, then maybe it needs to be in a loop, right? This would be a perfect example. When we do lists, this will be definitely something we put in lists, because in the list we'll have 3 phone numbers, and then you can cycle through the list just like we did with Leeward Community College, and it'll do the for loop for every item inside the list, and it'll apply the exact same regex. So to read the regular expression, okay, so we want to use the .sub function, okay, and we're going to replace, that's what the R is, or the R is for raw, and anything inside these brackets. So we want to take the left parenthesis, the right parenthesis, slash dash means get the dash symbol, and slash S means white space. If you have any of these items, so it's the white space, the dash, or either the parentheses, all right, then we want to replace it with a blank space. All right, and we're going to do the same thing to each of the phone numbers. And if you notice, each of the phone numbers is different, but our output should all come out almost the same. Should all come out the same. Okay, and look, no matter what the format was, so formatted 1, 2, and 3. See, phone number 1, 2, and 3. Even though they all look different here, we're forcing them all to have the same output in the end, so they all have the same look and feel of how they're supposed to be formatted, right? Because nobody wants to be looking through a list and every single phone number is formatted differently. So this is a way for us to strip and format our strings, right? In this case, the regex. Now, if you notice, I'm doing the formatted phone, and I'm doing the dot strip. Because if you don't do the dot strip, what we're doing is, if we replace that left bracket, it's going to replace it with a space. Well, you can see this would become a space, but these two don't have spaces, right? So if I were to actually take out the dot strip, just to show you real quick, because that's strip, dot strip is going to remove any of the white spaces from the left and right side of our word, right? So if we do it, it actually has that blank space there because it replaced it with a blank space. With the dot strip, it goes ahead and replaces with blank spaces, and then it strips any white spaces on the left and right side, but not in the middle of our document here, or of our string. So I'll go ahead and put the strip back in. You'll notice the 808 is back to stripped now. So that's a good way. If you replace things and you want everything to be aligned, get rid of the white space on the outsides, then just use your dot strip. Right? Same thing here. We want to parenthesis, and white space. So in this case, we don't want to take out the dashes. In fact, we want to replace them all with dashes. And you'll see one of them is going to come out kind of funny, right? Probably the one with the 808, right? This 808 right here, because it has that parenthesis in the beginning. Because anywhere it has a parenthesis, or blank space, we're going to replace that with a dash, right? So it's probably going to come out a little funny. And you'll see, look, oh no, we have a funny formatted phone number here. And that's because there was something in the beginning. So what we can do is, anywhere it's done that, we can actually for that case there, what we could do is we can do a here. We'll look at it a little bit deeper. Okay, so here we have the dash, right? This is the same as what we had just above. Okay, we're taking the parentheses and the blank space, replacing with the dash. There's an alternate way we do it. Let's go ahead and comment out this one here and uncomment this one. All right, and what this one's going to do is going to left strip any dashes that are on it. You could also do R strip if you want to strip from the right side. In fact, you could do R strip tacked on. So you can do .L strip, .R strip, and it'll do both of them, right? In this case, we're only want to do the left though, and so when we look at it, the 808 no longer has the left side dash, so then it would match the format of phone number 2 and 3, right? So we'll come up here and we'll just do the dot left strip, dot L strip. There we go. Will that do it? Dot strip, dot L strip. Parenthesis. Oh. Huh. Remember, if you have double quotes on the outside, then you got to have a different set of quotes on the inside, right? There we go. Now it looks the same formatting because we did a left strip on this one of that one right there. In fact, you could do it from all of them, and it won't actually negatively affect anything, because if there's no dash on the left side, then there's nothing to strip, right? So when we hit play, they all still look formatted. So you can just do it. If you had lots of different formats and you just want to put dashes instead, you just go ahead and apply that. And if you're looping through it, you would only need to apply it L strip one time. It's going to apply it through each phone number that it receives when you're looping through. Okay, so that's all I have for tonight. I wanted to keep it short and sweet, down to 30 minutes or less. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and pop in the chat and ask any questions. Next week, we'll go ahead and pick it up where we left off here, and we'll look at it just a little bit more, and maybe we'll even look at loading a file with 1,000 entries in it and having to process 1,000 different phone numbers using a loop and some strips, stripping the strings, right? All right. Everybody have a good night. I don't see any questions. So for those who are able to catch the recording, if you have any questions after that, let me know. Thanks. Bye.